In case you haven't heard, America's medical industry is pretty effed, but it doesn't have to be. Welcome to Right to the Root. I'm your host, Stephanie Wright, and I've built my career on helping practices reach their full potential. Join us as we dig down to the root of the insurance industry's most complex problems and how we might be able to turn it all around. We're back. Segment 2. I kind of lied at the end and said that we drop into DSOs, but we're first going to talk about and finish the story of that transition out. And then we're going to hate on DSOs for a little bit. Okay.
Perfect.
All right. So, COVID rolled around. Obviously, this was a driving force for everybody. It exasperated the need to make some sort of change, even for people that were not good at math. They didn't know what was going on. Something had to change. When you have all of these other insurance companies that are saying, hey, we'll give you X amount per patient that you see, or here's this set amount, here's this percentage, and nothing out of the biggest insurance company across the absolute nation. They did absolutely nothing. And if anything,
I got $1,000 on my Shine credit, which was about
$350,
about 5 hours of a day's worth of write-offs from them.
Oh yeah. Well, on top of it, I mean, it's a supply company. They certainly have markups, right? Mm-hmm. So it was insulting. Yeah. It truly was. Yep. And so you have some of those different hits that are on there. You're seeing the writing on the wall. You've hated the insurance company. Just tell me a little bit more about leading up to that.
Yeah, just, a big part of it was that with the aforementioned 4 hygiene a day, 7 not every other Friday, I'm kind of a prophy palace, and that drives your staff wages up quite a bit. Yeah. And in addition to the difficulty finding them, and like I said, I just looked and I'm like, man, this isn't going to work. I knew it would happen one day. Yeah. It was just like, now's the time. I realized I almost was able to not work. So I just said, hey, see ya.
Pull the switch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially during COVID in those first couple of years, it was really, really difficult for anybody. And I have other practices that went out of network during that time because they knew on the math side of things, their finances that, hey, I'm going to make a change. I have to do this. I can't be ruled and having my patients' care dictated, which is absolutely crazy. Some of the things that get denied on. But when was it that you called me?
Yeah, it was October of 2020.
Okay.
And I think I had some homework to do. And I don't recall when we started actually working on it. It had to be early 2021 because I went out of network with Blue Cross Blue Shield after the first quarter of 21.
Yeah.
I started having I listened to I had COVID during Thanksgiving of 20, and I listened to every episode of a podcast. And one of those episodes, the speaker pretty much read the letter that he had his people send out to Delta. So I had done my homework through that. And we had our letter. Our letter went out, I think, in June, because I think we wanted 7 months because I'm nerdy and I like a full year of clean.
Yeah. And you wanted to, even despite me telling you how absolutely busy your practice was and, the need to, you felt very passionate about connecting with as many patients as possible.
Yeah. So I had my little speech to the patient. I could get through my speech from 2 to 15 doing the exam. So halfway through the exam, I'd have my speech out, which was a little summation of the letter.
Yeah, but I never, for any client that ever comes to me, I shouldn't say never, but it is such a small percentage of my clients that I take fee for service that when they say that they want to be able to talk to their patients, I'm like, okay, all right, I think you can do it. And you are one of them. Thanks. Because I mean, truthfully, most doctors, you get trapped in this conversation, especially when it's something about insurance that patients, it's over their head, immediately in their head that they think that they have to leave, whatever it might be. And now the doctor is trying to answer questions that he doesn't know the answers to.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
so that's one of the things that I tell people and my clients and the team, I wanted to stop 100% at the front desk.
Mm,
My goal is nothing reaches back there. We're going to have a few that leak through. Right.
right.
But that's it. So for you, um, I knew you were capable of it because of how you were still able to produce care and have the hygiene schedule that you did as well too. And you just even your case acceptance, you really have a high case acceptance as well too. So I knew you'd be great with that. So tell me what your spiel was while you were in the operatory.
I basically just said, hey, you're going to get a letter, or you may have received a letter. We're not going to be in network with Delta any longer. What does that mean? You can still see us. You still can come to our office. It's just that you will pay at the time of service. Delta will reimburse you within 2 weeks. We still submit the claim for you. There is no additional paperwork for you.
Yeah.
We'd love to see you. That's pretty much it.
And
Try
that's
not to get too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep
Well,
it simple.
that's all it really is like we need to absolutely just have these bullet points of what's important to the patients. You can still come here. You
Yep.
will still have benefits available to you. It's not like health insurance.
Mhm.
We take care of all the paperwork for you. And here's the administrative difference that happens because the patients really don't care about anything else. They just want to know how it's going to affect them. And certainly after being at their dentist, first and second generations, second's probably coming on up here. There's loyalty there, but they still don't understand any
Yeah,
of that.
no. And it's like I said, the brainwashing thing. If I could, oh my goodness, if I had that power, well, but and it's like what people always say, I had patients that I thought would have run through a brick wall for me. They left before the ink was dry on the letter. The minute they heard out of network, phew. I have people still coming in and I'm like, why are you here?
Go
away. No, that's fine. I'm just like, I thought you hated me. What are you still coming here for? So, who knows? We, yeah.
I'll meet people all the time. Like even one of my first practices that was over in the Walker area I had opened up some fee for service practices. I kind of dropped in on a few that were already in the process, or perhaps they stopped accepting the assignment benefits for other insurance companies that made it. But one of my first practices that it was a dire need because that premier PPO father-daughter situation as well. And it's always so surprising to me, the ones that will stay. As I'm here in the practice, I'm looking through somebody's chart. I'm like, okay, this one's going to be a slam dunk. There's notes. This person has a place in Alberta, Canada, and one in Florida, and just bought a car that would stay in Florida for them because it's just difficult not to. I'm like, this is slam dunk. No. The first reaction, our first response out of her was like, I just don't know that we can budget for it. And I was like,
Yeah, well,
what?
you choose not to.
Yeah, and that's exactly it too. It's like that investment. But then when you break it down for somebody, and that's something that was really important in so many client offices, is look at pull up the patient's account, offer to pull up that insurance plan because there is opportunity that we can see that so that you can see these different comps and then send it to them so that they can see it for their own eyes because they don't know that there's a difference that's out on there as well too. And then again, too, what is that investment to care going to look like? This patient has really great oral health. They don't have a lot of decay. They don't have a lot of other things that are going on. Their impact spread over the course of a year might be the equivalent of like $5 a month, right? And oftentimes having to break that down for them. So what were some of the crazy questions that you got from patients or any patients that tried to like reel you back in during that time?
Questions that might have gone more toward the staff, just like why. And I'd tell them why they haven't raised reimbursements. As you can see, we've invested heavily in technology. Some would get mad at you. Like it was a personal thing. It's like, dude, it's not personal. I mean, would you would you work for 12 years for no raise?
Yeah.
Or 9 years in my case? Yeah. Yeah. So, and two, I said, and someone who I thought would be able to understand it, I'd say, hey, look at two, this is what they're doing to new dentists. And then I go, to be honest with you, a lot of it is just philosophical. It pisses me off that they haven't raised fees in 9 years. And then they're sticking it, student debt. And it is bad, but you're just sticking it to these new kids.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Well, and that's where, again, these patients, well, many patients that get upset. And I tell people all the time, you can absolutely feel for the families, right? Like they get it, yet they can't pay that $800
I get it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's exactly it too. And you try to do everything that you can on there, and but at the end of the day, it just isn't. And I think patients, again, too, we have to have that constant communication with them. And even since helping with you, I've really evolved of how we communicate to the patients, right? And
Hmm.
continually. And I think something though that has stayed the absolute same is give them the information. Like patients have to see these things as well too for their own eyes. Hand them a piece of paper, show them what it reports on there, and then email it to them so it's always in there. Because
Right.
when they get that reimbursement check back, so they pay $200 here and then they only get $165 back on something that was like it was paid for 100%, right?
Right.
And just say, hey, let's go ahead. Let's look back at that breakdown of benefits together again. Let's see this. And you can honestly tell them all other insurance companies say that my $100 fee for this is usual and customary, reasonable,
There's only
right?
one who doesn't. Yeah.
There's only one insurance company that doesn't. Well,
Two.
yes, two. And so, which is crazy because again, too, they're the biggest names that are out there as well, too. It doesn't matter how much percentage of that insurance company you have in your office, they're recognizable names. Everybody knows what Blue Shield, Cross Blue Shield
Yeah.
is. Everybody knows what Delta is as well, too, right? And so it's just absolutely kind of crazy to me. And it still is, it's becoming easier for practices to remove it now because it's so rampant and it's going on social media.
Yeah.
And which we had, there was even screenshots you had sent me. People will take to social media. And I mean, during your time, there wasn't a whole lot of concentration in the area of dentistry within West Michigan as a whole that were leaving it. But you had sent me some screenshots of on some of the local groups that were here.
Yep.
Yeah. What were some of the things that were being shared on there?
Like with regard to like area,
You leaving.
yeah. And other people, I just left this office and now this office is going out of network. And, you feel badly for people. And, there's 6 general dentist offices. I think there's 9 practitioners among those 6 offices, and 3 of us are out, 3 of them are in. And I joke with a friend of mine who I bet you he received a bulk of my patients that left. And I said, how's my practice within your practice doing?
Yeah.
And he laughed, and he subsequently went out. And I told him, I said, I'm kind of bummed not many of them have come back. But, I think they just see the writing on the wall, and he's a good dude, so they'll like him too.
Well, and yeah, especially when they do go fee for service and a few might trickle back, but it's a challenge. And especially when they know that it took them X amount of time to get into that other dentist and stuff, it's like, we're here. Right.
Yep.
And now because it's on the rise, because it's like, all right, this is happening again. And we're starting to see that in a lot of these different areas that have a higher median household income, because that's really, really important to take into account when you're making these changes. They're hearing it. They've seen it on the social media networks and other dentists, and they're like, yeah, I've heard, this is happening. And so, which is a benefit for the doctors, but it's really sad. And one of the things that I try to tell doctors and patients and everything alike, and I've started to implement is here's a piece of paper. Here's everybody on the state government level that you need to be submitting and put it. You're absolutely right. You should be pissed that they reimbursed you at that 165 instead of the 200 when they said it.
Oh, yeah. Cleaning an exam, $97
yeah,
instead
exactly.
of $156.
It's insane. And so here is where you submit this complaint in, because we have to go ahead and do that. I mean, it's everybody's sending in complaints even to Delta Dental, which I think that they just make a cozy little fire, maybe some s'mores over it or something.
Maybe in the winter when their $1 million fountain is empty, they have it as a fire pit.
Yeah. You know what? It actually might be kind of cool to see. Maybe we'll stuff.
No, my friend had the concrete bit on that. Yeah.
And that's what probably like made you even more furious about it as well too.
Yeah.
It is. Well, and it's like, and again too, and then they flaunt online about, their Delta Cares and, it's supposed to be a nonprofit.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I don't know if you're going to get to it. And that was one interesting thing about that. The thing in Massachusetts, and as I don't like the government getting involved in business at all, but one thing that really drives me nuts is I go to a dental school and I see they donated $1 million to a big
Yep.
project. And I'm like, well, I know a friend of mine I know two friends of mine whose adjustments were over 700,000.
Yeah.
So why isn't their name on there in a smaller font?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the good thing to come out of that is I was an alternate delegate with the ADA this year, and spelling out the ADA's policy on what's considered it sounds stupid, but the numerator and the denominator in that, like they can't count their charitable donations as paying out.
Of course not. Right. Like, so yeah, it is. But I mean, the amount of money.
Poor kids in their debt,
Yeah. There was, I think it was just 2 years ago, one of my clients, and actually somebody that you had referred over to me. You checking out the cool sneakers?
Yeah, they are pretty cool.
Right?
Yeah, I just low self-esteem. I always have my head down.
They would have matched your
my Crocs. I know it. They're my winter shoes.
All right. But you know what? Put them on 4-wheel drive.
Roger.
All right. So going back to it, one of your friends over in my area, Jennison, you referred him over to me. I think you guys may have graduated or a study club together.
Yep.
And so he had received a letter that was from one of his patients, had brought him a communication of some sort that, again, was listing me out as well as one of the sources as far as like what's happening and, why they're not. And I don't think it got out to like employees or anything else like that, but it was on this top level of like, hey, this is the person that's causing this problem in West Michigan as far as not being able to find a network provider.
Wow.
Yeah. And then there was something 6 months after that, maybe a year after that, that Priority Health had, they put a notice out to all of the employees. And core.
Oh, yeah, huge.
Yeah. I mean, it's the largest health network, obviously, here in Michigan. Who knows what they compare to the rest of the world, but
they
it's
took
huge.
From Beaumont. Yeah.
Yeah. It's absolutely massive. And they actually had sent out, and I'll have to put a copy of it on here, this communication that said, we understand that there is limited options for your dentists out there. We're doing everything that we can to recruit. And I believe they even mentioned something about like, through bonuses or increases to, help this out for your patients. But there's been a really large amount of retired dentists and even deaths. And, we're doing everything we can. Yeah. I'm like, I don't remember seeing a mass die off unless you did.
Yeah. It's they're good at that kind of thing.
Well, they're probably putting people in the grave, like dentists, so there's that. There's only so much you can take.
It's just, it's the brainwashing, and they've got just so much money to throw at that. So it's a bummer.
It really is. I mean, and the way that they have used and just different tools and communications against dentists over the years, as I was stating, that letter that went out and said, you could be seeing a PPO dentist and just showing these arbitrary numbers that are on there. And then if you do leave that network participation, then they send a letter basically making it sound like they can't, right? So it's like we have this wave of, we send out our communication, we inform our patients, we even tell them you're probably going to receive something from Delta Dental.
Yep.
And guess what's going to happen? They're all going to call again because they get this letter and they're just like, well, they're saying this. And we're like, we told you it would say that. But, and it just is. It's anything and everything they can do to drive patients away. There are even cases of them, giving bonuses to sign up for things like the Healthy Kids program and the Medicaid programs and saying, we'll give you this bonus and but you can be listed as not accepting new patients if you want. And the reason being is there's within CMS guidelines as well too. And don't quote me word for word on it, but there has to be a level of accessibility to care. And when you have all of these removals of network participation from Delta, who administers all of these government plans as well too, now we have an imbalance between the demographic and population in that area and accepting providers as well too. And so you can think that they're probably at risk of losing their contract on there. And so that's why it's all of a sudden, here's $5,000, $10,000 to go ahead and sign up with these things as well too. And it's just, it's It's absolutely crazy. Everything that they have tried to do to really work the system against doctors, offering premier doctors to be listed as PPO, but receiving premier level reimbursements because they want to have that crunch, right? They want to have that
Yeah.
pressure everywhere. And they started allowing, I think a year ago, previously, if you removed Delta, you could not accept healthy kids. You couldn't accept
Right.
any Medicaid. And now they've allowed that now. Now
Really?
you can still be in network with those two, and still be out of network with commercial Delta. So all of these different things that are changing it around the landscape of this is, they're feeling the heat, but they're doing everything that they can to save themselves money
Yep.
and not trying to make change that's sustainable. And it is.
Yeah.
It's ruining private practice, and which brings into that next subject as far as like the rise of DSOs.
Yeah.
What part of your career did you start seeing like the Aspens and Heartlands come up?
Oh boy. Aspen's been around a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't recall Heartland. Guy, probably early teens. I used to use a consultant. I probably used that company from
Like from Shine.
2011 to 2016, and they were bearing fruit, and but we were about to drop them just because we got out of them. We received from them all that we needed.
Yeah.
And I was talking to the owner one time, and he's like, "Hey, I've got this deal for you," and he basically described a DSO. And I know what my practice is. I know what I got here. I know what my practices work. And he's telling me 4 to 5 times that, and I'm like, dude, if you want to write that check now, dinner's on me. Let's go.
Yeah.
And so then just now seeing more and more, dental economics is daily DSO journal. A friend of mine said, I'm in a text group with about 11, 12 other dentists. And we talk about a number of orthodontists have gone in with the group. And then some private practices. I don't know who they are. I just know some have. General dentists. Where's the bodies, my buddy said, meaning where's all the, hey, this is the best thing I ever did.
Yeah.
So like for me, I look at it, people, for probably a lot of dentists, their practice might be one of their bigger assets. And, human pride. You're not going to sit there and say, wow, I made a big mistake.
Yeah. Oh, and there are doctors that they sign those and they feel like they're getting this large payout, and then they start working for them. They promise them the world. No, we want to keep everything the same. Your team, and that's not at all the case. And they really just drive it down into the ground as well too. The doctor removes autonomy of care, and there's this balance between absolutely. Even we have to follow numbers on things, right? That's how we grow. It's in my it's a quote in my email as well too. That which is measured grows. That which is measured and reported grows exponentially. And it's absolutely true. But at the end of the day, it can't be you. It's got to be the people and the numbers to follow, right? It just is. It's so unfortunate that there's this change that's happening, and even some of these patients that they go to Aspens, right? And you're just treated like you're down a conveyor belt.
Yeah, I always used to joke, I wanted to send somebody from my office to go apply at Aspen and work as a mole, just to see how they do stuff. Because every patient has $6,000 in care credit. Every patient.
Do you know how? Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Do you know who would be really good at that?
Your daughter. Yeah. Well, no, I need her here.
Just have it one day a week. That's all you need.
But, I just think a lot of the practice is the doctor, and I try to get it to where I'm just another part in a machine. But I know that the Gary mojo is what makes the practice. Now I'm gone more, but I'm not always gone. Whereas now even multi-office non-DSO. I guess technically that's a DSO. If you're a multi-doc, multi-location.
I feel like there's
technically,
that's how
we should probably just speak of the PE, private equity DSO.
True.
Might be.
Yes, that might be. You're absolutely right.
You know, and two, like with that, where the money, the pie's the pie, man. You cut it, you're cutting out a piece. It's not magically appearing from somewhere. It's not the bonus piece.
No.
It's coming out of somebody.
Yeah.
Staff, doc.
Yeah.
I don't know. The math doesn't make sense. No. I haven't heard anybody scream from the mountains, this is the best thing I've ever done.
Neither have I.
Their ads.
It's and just, it is. There's so many doctors that I've had that, have called me after the fact. There was a doctor up in Stanton, and he sold off to a DSO, and then later ended up taking it back. And it was like for some absurd amount of money, like a low amount, $100 or something. And again, I never saw anything on paper, but I've heard of this happening before. Be like, here, just take it back.
Good for him.
Yeah, whatever they ended up getting it, but they had destroyed the practice already. Yeah. Right. Like people had already left, patients wise just fled, and, they didn't trust the system anymore or anything else like that as well too. And it just is, crumple it up and throw it away.
Yeah. It's too bad, because another thing with the ADA that I learned is, a lot of it's not the dentists that are working there. It's the structure.
Yeah.
I can see it looks good on paper to you, but I mean, I know what I make from doing dentistry. I know what I make by owning.
Yeah.
Why am I going to get paid less than what I make from doing dentistry and trying to hit absurd goals when I'm over 60?
Yeah.
Just to say I got this much for my practice, and I probably won't because of goals and stock.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't quite, I can understand this point of just like you've hit a wall, and these doctors, like it's been so stressful. We have a decrease in the level of assistants out there and hygienists that are out there, and so like even COVID exacerbating this, like I have to get out, I have to retire, I can't do this anymore on every level in dentistry as well too, like from assistants that have been in for a long time. The hygienists that were, when hygienists were just a huge emergent thing in dentistry as a whole as well, there was a bulk of them that decided to retire during that time.
Yeah.
Right? And so it was for doctors that were at a comfortable age, it was like throwing the towel. I actually had a couple doctors that called me, and they were like, well, we're set to close our doors. I was like, what? Yeah, we're just going to sell the real estate. And I'm like, let's at least find somebody to buy the charts from you at the very least, work 100%. Out some sort of deal, right? Because that is something that can happen. But again, these patients, they're calling and they can't get in anywhere else. The only place I can see them, Aspen.
Right.
Right. And it just is that thought process of just being like, you've gotten to this point of you can't take it anymore, that you're just going to walk away.
Yeah.
It's actually really, really sad.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. It is. And you bring up like the Gary Mojo, which is totally true. You've got the Gary Mojo with you, but you are really you're great. You're great with the team. You continue to invest in them. You invest in your practice as well too.
Thanks.
You have expectations that they're not unreasonable, right?
Right.
And you actually, you have an incredible compassion towards your team and situations that they're going through as well too. And so for you, I really think that is part of your mojo.
Well, thanks. Yeah. Well, like I joke with the staff. I tell them, I go, thanks for sticking with me. And my last year of in-network by myself was 2021, and it was just bananas.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, man, thanks for sticking with me. And then like doing the podcast now, they're like, hey, there's a patient coming. I go, well, if I don't get out, just have them see Allie. And I go, yeah, just like me in 2021, right? And I always feel bad about how that being on that wheel affected me. And now I'm a lot nicer. But,
well,
yeah. But they know what's expected, but
it's hard. Yeah. Well, and the system that's been out there, and I try to tell team members alike about that. And I never really saw or witnessed it out of nor did your team, but if there's not somebody in the chair, there's a hole in the chair that doctor's like pacing, like, do you see that? They're staring at the computer all day long. Yes. Yes,
Right.
they have seen it and everything. And so, because they're only as good as a drill in their hand, right? Because they have to pay all these different bills and everything else that's going on. And so, that level of pressure that is going on there, that is from the insurance industry. When
Mhm.
you don't have something that's moving at the rate, you can't afford to not have somebody in the chair when you're paying the team that is there as well too. And so, it has turned doctors that were, historically really, really nice and patient and kind into kind of a
Not as
monster a little
nice.
bit. Yeah. Yeah. No, it really
Yeah.
has.
Well, too, kind of piggybacking onto that. One of the questions that I looked at was, a tough thing is once you go out of network is you're going to have a lot more open time. And psychologically, you're like, oh no, I always used to be like,
Never doom and despair.
yeah,
Yeah.
now I'm sitting around. Well, with the loss of patients that you can afford to absorb due to being out of network, it's good. So you just have to look at your numbers. And I think now I practice, well, I kind of went from 180 miles an hour to 25, but,
Well, it's good for you. Now you
it's
have a
no,
grandbaby.
it's great. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But, on a day where I'm somewhat busy, I look and I go, boy, this is probably what normal is,
Yeah.
so it's
Honestly.
cool.
Well, and Allie has got right, Allie.
You
Oh
got it.
goodness, God. Her opportunity to drop into this practice, and it's kind of funny. You see, even going back to sitting down with your old office manager, and this discussion about future dentists being brought on, and this is where Gary said that when after she had asked, well, what about when you lose network participation? Like, how are they going to look at that? And you had told her, well, I'm going to be like the Sofia Vergara.
Yeah. Aging myself. So now Gal Gadot. I'm going to look like Gal Gadot to any associate.
And honestly, so that you bring Allie on, and what a wonderful experience for her to be able to drop in and not have to deal with any of that.
Yeah.
And to have a phenomenal mentor, because you truly are a great mentor
Well,
for
thanks.
so many. So
Thanks. Yeah. And not to go off on a tangent too much, I think that that's a responsibility that any dentist has taken someone on. I see on Facebook pages, docs complaining about what the new doc doesn't know and all this. And it's like, dude, you didn't walk out of school the genius either. So calm down. And I think a big thing that's an obstacle for a successful associateship is them being busy enough / paying the bills. And I think by getting rid of going out of network, eliminated that, and me stepping back made her busier. So win-win.
Yeah, it really is.
100%.
Well, and she's a rock star as well too. But I am starting to see a little bit of the tide turning in regards to, and unfortunately, it might insult others, but a little bit of arrogance when some dentists were coming out and graduating, is that they didn't need any sort of mentorship.
Right.
And I'm really starting, that was a very, very short window, because I'm really starting to see doctors that are seeking it.
Yeah.
They don't want to be. I just spoke to another young dentist on the other side of the state that he dropped into a dental service organization, and he was there. He was on an island all by himself. Could you imagine a brand new grad and a DSO, right? And so he had said, no, I want to work with somebody. I really want to have a mentor. And it's really great hearing that again, because you can have all the book smarts in the world, but it's the real world application of that is significantly different.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Oh man, I want to be my own patient right out of school. Heck no.
So coming up on trying to make sure, have you ever thought about different suggestions and what could change within this broken system that we already have?
Just be competitive with the fees. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Fortunately in dentistry, you don't need to be a rock star business person to do well, or at least feed your family,
Yeah.
But for the investment that you put, when you look at it as far as the investment that you put in, and you need to be rewarded for that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, MetLife makes it work.
Yeah.
I still open 90% of the mail just because it's interesting for me and I'm not working as hard. So I don't see the EOBs because a lot of them are EFTs now.
Sure.
But MetLife comes darn close.
Oh yeah, when you're out of network, they're terrible in network, by the way.
Never been in, won't ever.
Yeah.
Just be cool.
It really is. Well, how much was a crown? How much did you charge your patients for a crown when you first graduated?
$624 was the fee in 1999.
How much is your fee now?
$1,301. No, $1,366.
And how much has the insurance reimbursements moved that?
But you know what?
The
big two?
Yeah.
Under 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
I think. I don't see Delta EOBs.
Yeah. When it was, I believe Premier level is somewhere in the mid 900s.
Yeah.
It was for the longest time at like 906 until they did these little baby jumps that were out on there. But I'm going to have to look that up. But it hasn't moved at the same percentage rate that anything else has. And it is fine that. But again, I think somebody's premium that they probably had 50 years ago was pennies.
Yeah.
And so I guess get cheaper right now, but
speaking with some other business owners, I guess dental insurance is a pretty inexpensive thing to offer.
Yeah. Well, and that's where I always get asked about the membership plan thing. And I have this love-hate relationship with membership plans is because like if somebody had a choice to pay $11 a month for their family of 6 for dental insurance or pay, $1,800 up front and then only get a 20%, they're not going with your membership plan. And you can't do both of them together. Right. So that's.
Yeah. I have friends who have those and it's cool. It's just, I kind of got out of network just not to deal with that kind of stuff. Yeah.
That's really how I feel about it.
Yeah. My fee's my fee, man. I don't bump my fee up because I know I'm going to have to deal with something from you.
Oh, well,
I do a lot of free work because it's easy for me.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to sit there and, I could get that and I'll do that.
Yeah.
If I tell patients I don't let insurance affect what I want to do when it's something you need, I'm not going to let it affect me when I can make more either, be a consistent dude or do that.
Yeah. Well, and I tell a lot of doctors, let's look at how many cash paying patients you have right now that say your fee is fine. Like there's no, and it is. And there's some doctors that I've had to, I'm adamantly against decreasing some fees. However, depending on where you're at and benchmarked on it and such, and how much we still can come out significantly far ahead if we, we modify this one code or anything. And that's because of the knowledge that I have for what it reimburses the patient and, try to decrease the losses as well too. So,
yeah. I don't know. I don't think it's hypocritical or anything. It's like, dude, one of the biggest thing, it wasn't so much the money for me with going out with Premier because it was a chunk, but it wasn't the whole thing.
It's hard to look at that.
Like when I'd have those hygiene Fridays and I'm like, if every patient I saw was Delta, it mathematically almost not impossible, but improbable. I could have lost 33% or 30% of what I did.
Yeah.
And it's like feeling from, wow, crushed it today to, ooh,
yeah. Yeah. That's a hard hit.
It's just, I didn't sign up for that.
No. So what's your best advice as we kind of close out this second part here for doctors that are out there, whatever age group that they might be?
Especially the younger ones, man, at some point, I'm hesitant to say it's a no-brainer because I had some special circumstances that really alleviated 99% of the stress with going out. But I was talking to a young dentist, and he's like, everybody around me is going out. So he's the Delta King in town. and he's PPO, and young kid, probably has a bunch of debt and kids and stuff. And I'm like, man, I wish I could tell you, but I don't know how much stomach lining you have left, but I do it. But, you've got to know just know your numbers on what's important.
Yeah. Well, it really is. Knowing the numbers is as part of it. And, I have walked into practices that did it blindly, and it didn't go well, but guess what? They still don't regret it either.
Right.
But you also have to look at it. I have clients that they are in areas that it's not going to be possible because of the population they have, the demographic that they're serving as well too. And so it's really important to be able to know your numbers.
Yeah.
Which is huge. You don't have to be a giant nerd. You just look at the adjustments, look at everything, how they're moving around. How many Medicaid patients do you have? How many from, patients from this insurance company, even getting some sort of generalized percentage of it, that's going to help navigate that situation as far as like, can you do this?
Yeah. Too. And if you're an old man like me and you're thinking of taking an associate on, but you're still in network, why don't you just look at going out of network?
Yeah.
If you're too busy, thin the herd, bro.
It is. Well, it's just not sustainable. It is just not sustainable to be working at that caliber.
No.
And we're getting to this point where there's this revolving door of patients. You have patients because of, last minute cancellations, whatever it might be, that are coming in, and you have other ones that are falling off from their preventative recalls. Right. Yeah. And so it just is, it's not sustainable. And it's a hamster wheel. I don't want to be on, and I'm trying to do everything that I can to make that change and hold the insurance companies accountable.
Perfect.
This can't happen. So yeah. So that means if you come and mentor some of my clients, Delta might come after you. Get cease and desist. Okay.
Sure.
Well,
I'm probably a little more reserved in what I'd say, so I might be okay.
That's you.
Otherwise we'll show them the video.
Yes, Oh, actually, so you've been dubbed the Daisy Dukes dentist.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. I, in my text group, 4th of July of 22, I told my wife, I said, I'm going to send the dummies a message, an inspirational message for the 4th of July. So I put on my Daisy Dukes and some patriotic attire and shot some bird shot into the air and said a few things about Delta and Great Britain, and got into the wrong hands and was a little bit viral, but it's okay.
It went a little bit viral.
No such thing as bad publicity.
I don't even have to share a link. If you Google Daisy Dukes Dentist, Michigan, you're gonna come across it, and it's worth the watch. You're never going to be able to erase that from your history.
It's okay.
It's
hey,
legendary.
If you're ashamed of what you do, apologize and move on.
That's it. You know what? Don't apologize.
No regrets.
It was amazing. No regrets.
Yeah. No. What is the bad tattoo? Ruggerts.
Something.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, again, I am so incredibly grateful for you to be able to sit down.
Oh, my pleasure.
You have just gems of wisdom from how you've operated your practice, how you've evolved, and you're going to continue to be an amazing mentor to many dentists.
Well, thank you. Yeah. So. If anybody needs a little help, wants to talk to a wet-handed person.
Bear.
Yeah, here I am.
Yeah.
Bear.
Bear's good one. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. And that will conclude our show.